Okay, it helps if I unmute when
Yeah.
I do roll call.
Well, first of all, let me call this meeting to, sorry, thank you so much. We were talking to ourselves for
I'm
quite
so
some
sorry.
time. And I hope everyone else is doing good today. Welcome to the Washington 500 Continuum of Care Board meeting. And it's July 1st, 2026, 2:01 p.m. Call this meeting to order. Take her away for roll call, Catherine.
Dr. Sam. Tamara.
Here.
Jaja.
Here.
Amaya.
Here.
Elizabeth.
Here.
Dorsal. Ruby.
Present.
Martha. And we saw Christina in the attendees. Dorsal is also in the attendees.
Oh, that's weird.
Dorsal, I'm sorry about that. It's fine.
Here.
Okay. And we have Christina. Victor.
Here.
Amy.
Here.
Elizabeth.
Oh,
Sorry. And Amy, I've got you. Valerie.
here.
Rocco. Jen
I'm here. Good afternoon.
and John.
Here.
You have 10 members present. And you have met quorum.
Great. Did, Amy, did you want to read the land acknowledgement?
Land acknowledgement. The Seattle-King County Continuum of Care acknowledges that we are on the unceded traditional lands of the Coast Salish peoples, especially the First Peoples of Seattle, the Duwamish people, the original stewards of the land, past and present. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. This acknowledgement only becomes meaningful when combined with accountable relationships and informed action, and is the first step in honoring the land that we today sit on and their people.
Amy, and I see Elizabeth down for the theory of change.
Theory of change. If we create a homelessness response system that centers people with lived experience of homelessness, then we will be able to respond to needs and eliminate inequities in order to end homelessness for all.
Great, thank you. And before conducting any business, I wanted to see if there was anyone that was willing to make the motion to amend the agenda so the board can enter executive session under RCW 42. What?
Yeah. Fine.
Oh, yeah, I see the hand, well, for the public.
Nicole.
Yeah, we'll do public comment after this.
Nicole's in
Well,
the board.
they haven't been seated yet.
I was just checking in because I didn't have my name called, so I just wanted to make sure that I was on roll call.
Yeah, the final board meeting for the outgoing board members is July 1st, or the final day is July 1st, and today is July 1st. So this is the final board meeting with the current seated board. Sorry, there was a miscommunication there. But we will be sure to welcome you guys halfway through the meeting. We're going to be doing the welcoming and also going to be having you guys here for next month. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for the misunderstanding there. So before conducting any business, I wanted to see if there's anyone that would be willing to make a motion to enter to amend the agenda so the board may enter into executive session at either the beginning or the end of our meeting, depending on what the motion would be made. Under RCW 42-30112F.
This is Jaja. I make a motion that we go into special session if needed at whichever point is best. whether it's at the beginning, at the end, or wherever it shows up. That is my motion.
Second,
Okay. Thanks, Elizabeth. So I got a motion from Jaja and a second from Elizabeth. Okay, so then we should do a roll call vote.
and Tamara has her
Is there
hand up.
discussion?
Yeah, there's discussion. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just curious, if you could like give some context as to what the executive session would be called for, because I don't know if that's necessarily been publicly announced or the reason for an executive session. So if you could share that with the public, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. I have that right here. Let me just pull it up on my notes so I don't get anything incorrect. So it is under, let's see, there's my tabs. Okay, so the reason being is there's an urgent matter that's regarding the governance, integrity, and personnel that has come to light that requires the immediate attention of the board. Because it involves sensitive information, it must be discussed in a closed session to protect the COC. And then I will be happy to explain further. I think if there's any other discussion and or we would need to designate a time to do it. So if I could have Jaja maybe clarify the motion a bit.
Do you need me to amend my motion to include that the special session,
Executive session.
the executive session
Mhm.
that we enter into be done immediately? In order to, clarifying questions, because it sounds like Tamara and others are not understanding.
That's up to you, Jaja.
Well, I move that we move into executive session immediately to get this cleared up. Elizabeth, do you second that amendment?
We do public comment and then do it. I hate to
Okay,
keep.
well then
waiting.
I would like to then amend my motion to go into executive session after we do public comment. How's
I'll
that?
second that.
Okay.
Further discussion before we vote?
Did you let Christina know that? Christina, you should be able to speak now. He just texted me.
Now I can. Thank you.
Okay, can we do the roll call vote?
Could you repeat the motion one more time so I can make sure that I have it correctly?
Yeah, the motion was to enter into executive session, or to amend the agenda to enter into executive session after public comment to under RCW 4230.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
I just
I think you need to say out loud the whole thing.
112F.
You're gonna say the motion out loud?
Did I say? The motion was to move into, or to amend the agenda and move into executive session after public comment under RCW 4230112F.
Elizabeth gave us. Okay. Tamara,
Yes.
This is the roll call vote.
this is the roll call vote for the motion that's been put forward. Jaja,
Yes.
Amaya,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes,
Dorsal,
Yes.
Ruby.
Aye.
Come on, that has joined us. Martha? Christina,
Yes.
Victor,
Yes.
Amy,
Approve.
Valerie,
Yes.
Rocco, Jen,
Approve.
and John.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, it was all yeses.
All right, thank you guys. So we'll go ahead and do that as soon as we're finished with public comment. Dorsal, did you want to open public comment?
Thanks, Ruby. If you are, first of all, Catherine, have we received any public comment in writing?
No, we have not.
Thank you, Catherine. If you are in person and would like to give public comment, could you please indicate to Catherine or Ruby that you would like to give public comment?
I don't think there's anybody here in person today.
If you are online and you would like to give public comment, could you please indicate by raising your hand? I am not seeing anyone with their hand raised. Please note that we do keep the Q&A open during the meeting, so you're welcome as always to engage with the board and ask questions through the Q&A throughout the meeting process. Back to you, Ruby.
Thank you, Dorsal. So the next steps are going to be, there's a link that was sent to you by Catherine, and we can put it in the chat as well. And if you're a current board member seated with your, so that would be everybody that voted to go into executive session will be present there. And I think that we will be coming back, at 2:25 potentially, 2:25, and we can come back and extend it if we need to.
Point of order. Since it's a matter related to a KCRHA employee, are you comfortable allowing KCRHA to be
Yeah.
present?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's an inclusive.
I don't see it in the chat.
It's coming right now. Thank you for your patience.
And you also have a meeting invite, Elizabeth, that I sent to you. You have a Teams meeting invite.
And yep, and for everyone on the call right now, I encourage you to stick with us because we will be back to finish the rest of the meeting. We have important things on there. We're going to get to a very important update for coordinated entry and a vote for that as well. So
And what time did you say we would be returning?
2:25 initially, and we will come back and check in with the public at that time. I really appreciate you guys' patience and thank you so much. So again, the Teams link is in your email and or in the panelists the chat, sorry. Oh, Amy?
I
Yes.
need clarification. So we're talking about an executive board session.
Mhm.
Is it all COC board members that should be jumping onto Teams or just an executive board member?
It's all the COC board that is currently seated, everyone that voted in roll call, or I mean, everyone that was on a roll call today or voted for the minutes or voted
Okay.
to.
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that.
Thank you. The board over there in just a second.
Everybody else should stay on.
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah. And everybody, again, should please stay on the meeting. We will be finishing our business here just shortly. Thank you.
Real quick. The oncoming board, we are not a part of this executive meeting that you're about to have, right?
Currently not right now. I'm sorry for any miscommunication that have been sent out. Again, we're understanding the process right now, and I just wanted to make sure that we handled that before we welcome before we actually officially do the business of welcoming the board members on. We'll explain when we come back.
Point of order.
Yes,
I want to confirm that Devin is,
if he's here for Martha, then that's totally
that's what I was
fine.
making sure. Devin
Is
is
he here
Martha's
for Martha?
representative.
I was not told that
Yeah,
Devin was
actually.
coming as proxy.
That's true.
Go ahead, Devin.
Yes, Martha is out of the office this week.
Okay.
She didn't assign me as a proxy because I think we were under the impression when she went out of office last week that I would be joining as a new member. But I typically am her proxy and have been when she's out. So
And I'm happy to honor that. I think, right? Is the board okay with honoring Devin as Martha?
Yeah, if you can hear me, are you still in the room with the in-person board members?
Yeah,
We're still here.
should we get on the other call though?
I'm on it right now, so that's why I knew that Devin had.
Should we leave this meeting?
No, they should be joining us. We have to do this weird thing as part of the process of the whole executive session. My guess is they're trying to figure out logistics.
Hey, Elizabeth and Amaya, do you see the link in the chat? Okay, do you want to switch over to
Sorry,
that
I'm
meeting?
trying to join right now. It's trying to ask me to sign in or something.
Sure. All right.
This is
Wait.
Christina. I don't have any access to anything in the chat.
Christina, I sent you the Teams meeting invite.
It was
Thank
the
you.
one that you joined earlier today when
Yes.
Jeff came and got you out of it.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, hi, this is the public meeting. This is Ruby, the co-chair of the COC board. We are still in executive session. We will be back in 15 minutes, which would be 2:30. No, 2:40,
2:42.
2:42. Okay. Be back at 2:42. Thank you.
board members with their hands up.
I understand that. Thank you so much. We are live, coming back to you guys in 5 minutes. We're extending it for 5 minutes. I'm so sorry. Thank you. This is the final extension. This is the final extension till 3 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, we're back on the public meeting. If Tom's still around,
I'll go get him.
we're gonna discuss this situation here early on the agenda, but, if Tom's available, do our coordinated entry so we can get our updates.
Um, I'm sorry, I don't know, I cannot get the camera to come back on. So
If you turn off the other meeting, it should go.
I am out of the other meeting.
I highly doubt it if your camera's not.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ruby.
It's okay. I just said I highly the work with that.
It looks like, yeah, I think that it is still broadcasting in the Teams call. So somehow you must still have access to the Teams meeting if you could open that up. Apologies, this is Jeff Sims at KCRHA. We're just trying to sort out a technical issue dealing with multiple technology platforms.
This is Jaja. We can see you, Jeff.
And apparently you can hear us okay as well.
Yes, sir.
Tom to come in.
If you had to do a motion.
I don't know, or that's up to somebody else. I'm the co-chair. I can't do it.
Yours, until the end of the meeting. Good afternoon. My name is Dorsal Plants. I'm one of the co-chairs of the COC board. We'll call our regular meeting back to order now. I believe that we have quorum of the seated board members. I believe that there was a motion that someone, the floor would be open to make a motion.
I think John was gonna make a motion.
John Urquhart here. I move that the introduction of the new board members that's on the agenda be postponed until certain matters that have come into question can be resolved.
I second that, John. This is Amy Thomas.
There's a motion to table the introduction of the new board members until matters can be followed up from previous discussion in a second. Point of order, I believe, by Ruby.
Yeah, I recuse myself from the vote because I'm included in that candidates list.
Point of order.
Jeff.
Is there further delineation on what needs to be resolved or what steps to take that could be clarified?
Sure, we can do this as part of the discussion on the motion.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
That for the other members that weren't in the executive board meeting, there's been an issue raised about the election of the new board members that needs to be resolved. And how we resolve it has yet to be resolved. But we'll do that probably at this meeting. In the meantime, my motion only goes to postponing the introduction of the new board members. And it's been moved and seconded. So any other discussion would be appropriate, I think.
Yeah, I think the only discussion that I would share is just that this is something that's gonna be figured out by the next board meeting. So, that's what I can share.
Okay.
And we're not going to be specific about this, other than that.
Yeah.
Yes, just to explain to the public, we're not allowed to discuss matters that were discussed under executive session. At this time, the board is coordinating work on that. I believe board member Carl, your hand, do you have a point of order or discussion related to the motion on the floor?
I do. Thank you, Dorsal. I would actually like to propose an amendment to that motion, which states that the welcoming of new board members is tabled until the specific time frame as our next board meeting, and that current seated board members remain in place until such that time.
I second that, Jen. This is Amy Thomas.
The question-
We could call the question, but I'm not sure.
No, I'm just,
Want to call
my
a
question would be,
Oh, no, okay, no, nobody called the question. Sorry, John.
bad choice of words. I'm inquiring as, can we extend under the charter the current board member's term of office? I would guess no.
That is correct, Board Member Urquhart. My understanding is that unfortunately the charter does not. I appreciate the concept, but unfortunately the charter does not allow that. I will note that was why the co-chairs were working so diligently for weeks leading up to this meeting to try and get some matters resolved, and unfortunately met resistance. Board Member Liu, do you have a discussion point for the motion on the floor or point of order?
I do. You don't have to call me board member Lou, just call me Victor. But I'm just more, along with what John had actually just shared, though, I'm just, even though the attempt is to try to resolve the situation by the next board meeting, it goes back to my comment earlier, similar to John. The current board members, if I counted it correctly, there are 3 whose term limits basically ends today. Then are they going to be allowed to attend the next board meeting as board members? Essentially, the answer is no, because of how the charter is being written right now. So I would like to understand if the attempt is to resolve the issue by the next board meeting, who is going to chair the meeting? Who is going to be the co-chair of that meeting? And so we don't have those answers at all.
Sorry, I can answer so traditionally the board as exists at the August meeting would elect a chair pro temp to run the meeting, and likely co-chairs would be elected at that first meeting. It would not be appropriate at this meeting for us to decide co-chairs because we don't know who is or isn't on the board for the August 5th meeting. Sorry for interrupting, Victor.
Point of order.
No, don't need to apologize. I remember that process. Now that you refresh my memory, my concern right now is still around because we cannot share the specific, but obviously that there's some question around the selection, recent election process, and yeah, I don't have an answer to that. But I like the idea of having the co-chair election in the subsequent board meeting, and then we can attempt to resolve the issue, because I think we need to be committed not to delay for too long. 1, to be accountable for the selected board members, and then 2, we have to also be accountable to the public. We cannot just delay it indefinitely. So I just want the existing board to have a commitment that we will have a
Victor,
resolution.
I think there's a point of order.
Point of order, there's a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. Any discussion should be limited to discussing that particular motion. It's a minor motion. We should be able to get it out of the way real quickly.
Thank you.
So I'll call for the question.
All right, we've got a call for a question. Catherine, if you could do a roll call vote, please.
Could we restate the actual motion, because there's been a lot of things said? So if we could restate the actual motion, that would be really helpful.
And actually, thank you, because there's an amendment we need to vote on first. Thank you. There's an amendment and a second that has been made to the motion. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the amendment is, actually the amendment was invalid. Sorry, it reverts back to the original motion. Sorry, parliamentarian at 100 miles an hour. Yes, so the call has been questioned. The original motion was for, I'm sorry, John, can you restate your motion?
Hang on, Dorsal, part of the amendment still stands. The part of the amendment adding the timeline to it still stands.
Okay.
Yeah. So, is that a friendly amendment then?
That's a
Point of order. Can the amendment happen before the motion? Doesn't John have to make the amendment?
No, No, great question. It happens before the motion vote takes place because the amendment could get voted down and revert to the original motion.
So you just.
Thank you.
just accepted the friendly amendment,
Which is,
okay, so the motion on the table is to table the discussion of the new board members, the welcoming of the new board members, and given a timeline of the next board meeting to get the situation resolved.
That's exactly right.
Thank you, appreciate that.
and the second is from
Amy
Amy.
Thomas.
All right, Tamra,
Yes.
Jaja,
Yes.
Amaya,
Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
Dorsal,
Yes.
Ruby,
I recuse myself from the vote.
Christina,
Yes.
Victor,
I also recuse myself from the vote.
Amy,
I approve the motion.
Valerie,
Yes.
Jen,
Approve.
and John.
Yes.
All right, sounds like the motion passes. Sorry that we had to do that. Next on our agenda is coordinated entry vote. How's it going, John? Tom, thanks for your patience.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Tom Regan. I use he him pronouns. I'm the coordinated entry system manager here at KCRHA. Happy to be with you all again, and I have some updates from the presentation that I gave to you all last month about the new coordinated entry assessment tools. And I'm going to share my screen now. I have a slideshow and some materials that I can share with you. Thanks for your patience while I click the appropriate. Okay,
You're good.
wonderful. All right, here's a little bit of a summary of where we are today. I don't want to take too much time with a lot of this because I gave you all that presentation last month about how the tools were developed and all the work that went into the Coordinated Entry Committee's assessment development work group. So over the last month, in May and June, I've been working very closely with different cross-system collaborators, partners from King County Public Health, the King County Department of Community and Human Services, King County Behavioral Health and Recovery Division, various partners internally here at KCRHA, and members of the Coordinated Entry Committee to review the assessment tools. I also shared them with you all and got great feedback from this board. So thank you very much for that feedback last month. Last week, I presented to the Coordinated Entry Policy Advisory Committee, our Coordinated Entry Committee, and they voted to endorse moving forward with implementing these tools in our community. Right now, the tools are also pending KCRHA executive review, and also what I'm going to be asking you all today, after giving you some of these updates, is to vote to move forward with implementing the tools in our coordinated entry system. First, before we would implement them, we would pilot the tools. And now when I am talking about piloting of the tools, it would be a 4 to 6 week pilot period where we would work with our coordinated entry assessor community and our like provider leadership teams to identify 4 or 5, high performing coordinated entry assessors to solicit about 30 to 40 coordinated entry system participants to perform pilot interviews to test them for their usability, safety, and validity. So that will be like a final round of feedback from both people who are using the coordinated entry system, as well as those who are part of the system workforce, to get feedback on the actual implementation of the interviews and the materials. That would kind of go into one final round of revision for the tools before they would actually kind of go live with the community. Elizabeth, I see your hand. If it's all right, I'm gonna ask to wait for questions until the end instead of asking them during the presentation. I want to be sensitive to time here on our agenda. I know my partners on the Ombuds team also need to present to you all today. And I have some stuff that I want to get through on this slideshow. So I'll have some time for questions at the end. So feedback, I got really wonderful feedback, like I said, from all of you and from all those just aforementioned cross-system collaborators. Some highlights that I wanted to share, and I will be sharing, actually, I'm happy to say that as of today, all the feedback that I got has actually made it into being changes to the tools themselves. So I'll be able to share those updated drafts with you all for your own revision as well. But I wanted to highlight some key points of feedback that were incorporated and the changes made to the tools since last month. So we'll be working with disability access groups. Actually, Catherine was really gracious to help cement a connection to myself with a disability access group. I've been working closely with DV system partners. And then, like I mentioned, we have at least one method for direct PLE input on revision of the tools by testing and piloting those interviews with members of the community and getting their direct feedback on how having this interview script completed with them lands with them. And these are all in the effort of making sure that the tools are kind of have that human-centered and also kind of like participant-centered development and continuous quality improvement as much as possible. I did a crosswalk of the tiers for how we're going to matrix score the different risk factors, just to ensure that there's no superfluous questions in the tools, that we're not asking anything that isn't directly related to how we are going to tier people in scoring the assessment. So to be clear, these assessments won't be scored on a point system like the vulnerability assessment tool or the VI SPDAT tool. They'll be scored using like tiers, and I'll kind of get into explaining that here in a minute. And like I said, a crosswalk to make sure that there's no question in there that doesn't directly ask the participant about a data point that's used to tier them for scoring. The interview guide itself and the script both of those are still currently under development. The reason for that is because we wanted to make sure that in developing the interview script and the assessor guide, that we're doing that in line with how we are going to train assessors. And part of the plan that I presented to you last month for implementation is that my team has been putting all of our work into developing the tools themselves, and will this summer in July and August be focusing the vast majority of our efforts on developing those training tools to be administered to the assessor workforce in the month of September. We are really making sure that we're asking a lot of questions for ourselves, both my team and also the assessment work group, to ensure that in those guides and trainings that in there are strong controls for mitigating bias and training on mitigating bias from assessors, because we realize that particularly for the permanent supportive housing assessment, that they'll be asking open-ended questions and then being asked to check from different boxes on a list. And so just making sure that as much as possible, that again, that these trainings for administering the assessments are in line with trauma-informed care, best practices for motivational interviewing, things like that. We got some good feedback about simplifying and shortening language in the first phase, the triaging and barriers assessment opening script. Folks said that it landed with them a little bit like overly formal. Formal is good. We want to ensure that we're, curating a professional environment, but we also don't want the scripts to be otherizing and to kind of have a like cold feeling and inhuman type of feel for how folks are being interviewed. We also got good feedback to include more readily upfront disclaimers for completing the assessment that lets folks know that the reality of the availability of resources in our coordinated entry system likely means that people will not be immediately placed, and also lets people know that coordinated entry doesn't create housing. And so we got that feedback to make sure that there's some good expectation setting happening with folks up in the beginning. We got from multiple different members of the community to make sure that we're asking people about their insulin dependency. If folks need to take insulin, that's a medication that needs to be refrigerated. So asking about if folks have medications that need to be refrigerated or are dependent on insulin. We got some great feedback from the Behavioral Health and Recovery Division, just making sure that we're asking people about what type of environment would be supportive for their recovery needs, whether that's mental health supports on site, different kind of levels of substance use intervention. Do they want an abstinence only environment if that's their desire? Or are they okay with being in an environment where they might not necessarily have consequences for using substances in their apartments, right? So different levels of a harm reduction environment, what type of intervention folks proactively want. Also, loud and clear, I heard from this group as well as from several other groups, just about the language, about those like ADL screening questions. So that has actually been completely changed. It's no longer called like the ADL screening questions. I call it, well, I got the Zoom thing on my screen, so actually bear with me for a second. I apologize. It's called the, it's just called the activities of daily living section, and it has a prompt there that's just to be completed by the assessor. And I changed some of that language to indicate that the answers to these questions don't screen people out of permanent supportive housing services. Just wanted to really highlight for folks that participants requiring assistance, transferring, completing ADLs, or if they have other highly specialized medical care needs, that those needs might require additional services outside the scope of permanent supportive housing, and that coordinated entry does not connect folks with those types of services. So just really wanted to make sure that that was abundantly clear to folks, and also make sure that it was abundantly clear that we're not asking about that for the purposes of screening people out. So I knew that was important. So I wanted to make sure that that got in there. Okay, back to the slideshow. Okay, here's some information about the tiering. High level, just bullet points here. I just wanted this to be kind of visually pleasing for your digestibility while we're talking about this. The first phase of the assessment is that initial triaging and housing barriers assessment. We'll have 4 tiers for that assessment. Tier 1 would indicate that a household would be potentially a good match or might need permanent supportive housing in order to resolve their homelessness crisis. Tier 2 would mean that that household's crisis could be resolved with permanent housing or a durable subsidy. Permanent housing, not necessarily permanent supportive housing, like those stand in contrast. That would be housing project that doesn't have embedded staff supports to help people with their needs. Tier 3 would indicate that rapid rehousing or transitional housing could resolve the household's crisis. And then tier 4 would be that that crisis could be resolved with diversion or problem-solving conversation. In the second phase, again, 4 tiers. And the first tier would be if someone were assessed with the second assessment, the phase 2 assessment, that they would be automatically prioritized for PSH, and that would be their housing plan. And to be clear, again, people would only be taking the phase 2 assessment if they were in the first tier from the first assessment. So only if through that first assessment process, it's indicated that they need or permanent supportive housing is likely to resolve their crisis, only then would we move on to ask them those additional questions in the second phase of the assessment. Once that second phase of the assessment is administered, if they are in the first tier of taking that assessment, they're automatically prioritized for PSH. If they're in the second tier after taking the second phase of the assessment, then they would be automatically prioritized for PSH as long as there are no tier 1 folks who are not currently matched with the resource. And the same would then kind of go for tiers 3 and 4. So if there are no longer any tier 2 folks to house in the coordinated entry community queue, then we would house tier 3 folks, etc. I put an asterisk down there at the bottom of the screen as well to highlight that we would also be moving to match this process with a case conferencing system, incorporating it into our case conferencing system. And so in those case conferencing conversations, if it's indicated that, there are maybe tier 1 folks in the community queue who have not yet been matched with the resource, but for whatever reason, their housing navigation team is not able to connect with them, or they have indicated themselves that they're not interested in any of the resources that are currently available. And in an organic case conferencing conversation, if other providers agree that, okay, we have some tier 1 folks, but they're not wanting to be matched to the housing stock that we have available at this time, we're okay with prioritizing today someone who's tier 2, 3, or 4. So that asterisk there is meant to indicate that there could be permeability between those different tiers, and that this is not just a rigid system where we are only going to match tier 2, 3, and 4 folks to permanent supportive housing if and only when all the tier 1 folks are matched. For a little bit more detail of kind of what it looks like, how folks are assigned to the different tiers for the phase 1 assessment. In tier 1, folks would have 3 or more of these different risk factors. So they're 55 or older. It could be that they are 55 or older. Those who are experiencing intimate partner violence or domestic violence. If it's indicated that they have a health risk, a behavioral health risk, large families, 4 or more, and or those families with minors. If the household is currently pregnant or expecting a child within the next 9 months, so pregnant, or if they've been homeless for more than 1 year. So if they have 3 or more of those risk factors, then they would be in the first tier. Tier 2 would be less than 3 of those risk factors, so 2. Tier 3 would be less than 2 of those risk factors, so 1. And then tier 4 would be also one of those risk factors, and that they've also been homeless for less than a year to indicate that diversion or problem solving conversation is likely to be able to resolve their crisis. In the second phase, the first tier would be severe risk in the different domains of this assessment, which are mental health, people's organization or orientation, basic needs, survival skills, medical risks, indicated mortality risks. So those would be chronic health conditions that are potentially unmanaged or terminal, or what's called trimorbidity, which is when a person might have a chronic health condition as well as a severe mental health condition and substance use disorder. And then also severe risk in their substance use. Tier 2 would be high risk, Tier 3 is moderate risk, and Tier 4 is mild risk. I have a completed draft of a matrix for how severe, high, moderate, and mild are determined, and I can attach that to the tool, the updated drafts of the tools themselves, and send that all to you if you'd like. Well, not if you'd like to. I'm sure you'll want to see more detail of exactly how, you know, the severe, high, moderate, and mild is determined. And it's connected to the ways that folks are answering the questions in that second assessment. So now here are our options today. You have two options before you today. The first option is to vote to move forward with implementing these new coordinated entry assessment tools. The benefits of this option are strengthening compliance with our federal requirements for coordinated entry. I want to be very clear, we are currently in compliance with our federal coordinated entry requirements. We do assess households when they are flowing into the coordinated entry system. And we also only ask the mandatory minimum number of data points that are required to assess households. And so having a more robust and fulsome assessment will help strengthen our federal compliance with those requirements. Other benefits would be utilizing tiering based on vulnerability rather than a primary focus in our system right now for prioritization, which really ultimately focuses on the length of time homeless. There are more data points like whether or not a household is fleeing or attempting to flee, DV, and whether or not a household is sheltered or unsheltered. But really what we've seen over the last several years with how prioritization works for matching folks to housing and coordinated entry right now is that the primary deciding factor on who is prioritized for a unit ultimately has to do with how long they have been homeless. And so the benefit of implementing these new assessments is that we would be incorporating, as you just saw, many more different risk factors than just that primary risk factor. Would be gaining more understanding of folks' needs to better support matching, and also to using these assessments and prioritizing folks through tiers rather than just tie breaking would be much more supportive in the direction that our system is seeking to go, and using operational by name lists that are dynamic, where we're understanding who is newly flowing into the coordinated entry system and those who are flowing out of it and being connected to housing. Concerns with this option, I stated to you all last month, this tool is the work that's gone into developing the tool is not static. It doesn't end with this vote. It doesn't end this year. It's something that needs to be ongoing and would need continuous quality improvement. So that's work that myself and my team would need to shepherd, is ensuring that we have a robust community of wide array of stakeholders, including those DV system partners, disability advocacy groups, people with human-centered assessment experience, and our cross-system collaborators to make sure that the tool is always being strengthened. Assessments can be invasive and time intensive. It takes a lot of time for the workforce to assess folks. It takes a lot of folks who are experiencing a housing crisis to answer personally prodding questions, and we understand that. So we know that that's a concern. We also know that training will need to be very strong for this effort. It's really important that training is strong to avoid what I call like tier or score inflation, this phenomenon where we kind of get away from fidelity of what the tool is really trying to measure, and all of a sudden, as we're implementing it and assessing many people, it seems that everyone is high risk. The point of this is really being able to, it's a tragic reality, but the point is ultimately that we're trying to identify those who are most at risk of mortality and morbidity on the streets and ensure that they're prioritized for housing. The second option that you have today is if you do not vote to move forward with approving these new tools, then we maintain our current operations. I'm going to be honest, I have a benefit here, but I can't really think of any benefits to maintaining the way that we currently prioritize people for housing and coordinated entry. This bullet point is here because I want to, in good faith, demonstrate that maybe you could see that there could be some benefit to continuity in the system. Change is difficult for like our assessor workforce and also for the community at large. And continuity would mean that the investments that our team has made in training and capacity building over the last several years remain relevant. But again, I'd say that this benefit is listed here because I wanted to, in good faith, demonstrate that there might be some benefit, but I don't believe that there's benefit to continuing how we currently prioritize folks. Concerns, the current system's out of line with best practice recommendations for how we assess folks' needs and make matches for people to housing. Length of time prioritization is universally critiqued by the community, and we believe that it's an insufficient measure of vulnerability alone. It's part of how folks' vulnerability is determined, but it's not a sufficient factor on its own. The length of time prioritization is only meant to be temporary, and instead it's kind of become the policy over the last several years while we've been working to move towards something different. And now that we have completed some work towards something different, we should strongly consider moving forward with that because this current policy was only meant to be temporary. It was named as an interim policy. The length of time has led to poor service matching. We see a lot of mobility requests through our system, and the provider feedback we get through our feedback loops, like our leadership teams, lets us know that the way that they're seeing that folks are being matched to housing resources is not serving either on both sides for housing navigation and also housing providers. We get that universal feedback that housing navigators are not feeling very well supported on how to describe to housing providers why their client needs be a good service match for a given program, and housing providers are having a hard time articulating to housing navigators why maybe a client might be a better match or a program might be a better match for a client, right? Not necessarily about matching people to programs, but understanding what programs provide so that we can make sure that those are getting matched to the right person. To not implement a change right now would be, tone deaf to the community. This is something that they're asking for. These tools have been developed through a robust and community-driven process, and so to not vote to approve moving forward with them would be tone deaf to the community's desires and advocacy for change. Okay, thank you all for your patience. I'm getting through those slides, but yeah, now I do have a couple of minutes for questions.
Is there any questions for presenter? Elizabeth, go ahead.
I have been hearing from providers in my area the very concerns that you have mentioned, and because the needs and services are somewhat different in the urban areas and in the rural and suburban areas, I'm asking, are any of the pilot programs going to be done in suburban, rural East King County?
We are currently soliciting participation from different assessors and different organizations that do coordinated entry assessments all over the region, and will certainly ensure that we'll prioritize assessors in places that are not just the metropolitan area of Seattle to make sure that we're getting some robust participation outside of just kind of the core area here in the metropolitan area.
Thank you.
Dorsal?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for the presentation. And feel free to I guess, say you don't have a strong answer to this, but given some of the shifts that have been announced today in regards to contracting, if the board were to select option one, do you anticipate any potential kind of impacts or delays in implementing option one, given changes to the current system, acknowledging that you might not know currently?
Yeah, thanks, Dorsal. I don't necessarily feel positioned at all to comment about how this relates to that other, data point that you're talking about. But what I can say is that our team's been preparing for months to be able to implement this, and I don't see any reason for any type of major interruptions on implementation in terms of both piloting with participants and then also training and developing the assessor workforce. I don't see any reason for concern for major interruptions.
All right. So is there a motion to?
This is Christina. I'm still gonna object because to me, it does not read Olmsted, and it doesn't sound like anybody who are living out on the street with disabilities was even brought into any of the discussions when these tools were being made about us. And while everybody's saying it won't be used against us, as written, it will be used against us. And I find it just simply goes against Olmsted and a lot of what I stand for as a person with disability as representing people with disabilities. And I understand it's hard for the agencies to be able to provide the support, but I don't like the tool as written.
Yeah, thanks for that, Christina. I completely understand where you're coming from. I reached out to you today to see if you'd like to meet and talk and so that I can get your input and to see if you'd be interested in becoming a member of like the continuous quality improvement task force that's going to kind of like ongoing, at least quarterly, review the data of how these questions are being answered. And like I said, make sure that it won't quite be a living document, but something that will be able to be continuously updated. And I really want to make sure that point that you raised, that we do that in that type of group, that there are people who are currently experiencing homelessness or have lived experience of homelessness, making sure that we are updating and amending the tool as needed. So thank you. I understand that's not sufficiently answering the question as you or your concern as you just stated, but I do want to let you know that I take seriously the feedback.
Oh, no, and I get that with you, and I know you personally, so I do understand that. But what I'm saying is throughout the years, these continuum of care organizations putting together policies without coming to us first. We should have been at the table the very, very beginning. And I know we can't go back and change that now, but that is what I'm trying to make forward. As we go forward stuff, we need to be at the table in the very, very beginning when something impacts us, not at the, end when you're presenting it to us in the beginning, especially with, expertise in a certain area that I may not be on your coordinated entry committee, but I am a disabled person and I'm a certified ADA, advocate. I've been trained as an ADA coordinator. That stuff, KCRHA has historically done stuff like that since its beginnings, bringing stuff forward without bringing us to the table first. Afterwards, we're being served at the table like we are on the table instead of coming up with the menu and coming together. And that's what I'm saying. When something comes together, we really need to come forward and be at the table in the very beginning, because that none of this, I feel like, would have all point mute. So yeah, no, and yes, I did see your email, but that's what I'm trying to say is, this should have been well before now. And that's where I'm hurt, that KCRJ hasn't brought us in well before now on something like, it could be something like LGBTQ or around people of color. We all need to be at the table in the very, very beginning instead of having stuff handed to us at the end that impacts us.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. Thank you.
Josh, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just want to say, Christina, thank you. And I agree wholeheartedly that we need to be at the table and not on the menu in whatever we do. But I, being the co-chair of the coordinated entry, and I love this tool because the tool that we have right now is not fair. There are people who are being moved out of hospital and have no respite place, and they're not being prioritized. And this is a prioritization tool, right? And what we have right now isn't doing that. It's based on if you've been homeless X amount of time. Well, but where's the vulnerability in that? The people are more than just without a home for X amount of time. They have other issues going on. You see what I'm saying? And the tool that is implemented right now is not working because it's not addressing the needs of the people. And so that's why I want to make a motion that we accept this, the motion for option 1, which is implementing this new prioritization tool so that it can be piloted, right? And figure out and give people more opportunity for diversity to get into a place, right? People who are prioritized based on a need, a severe need, right? I mean, everybody has a need, but just being homeless is not enough of a need. There's people who have medical issues. There's people who have mental issues. There's wraparound things. I mean, there's so many things. And I'm preaching to the choir. But my motion is that we vote on and accept option 1, which is the new prioritization tool. My goodness, tongue twister.
Point of order. Is there any other questions on this topic? And can we please not do things in the chat and do them in public?
The comment in the chat was in reference to just a time check. It's likely needed.
We need to go through the vote and then we can amend the agenda after that. So I heard a motion. Is there a second?
This is Jen, I'll second.
Thank you, Jen. I think we could do a quick voice vote on option 1 or coordinated entry, or do you want to do a roll call? Would you rather?
Yeah,
okay, apparently we need to do a roll call, so let's go ahead and do that.
Tamara,
Yes.
Jaja,
Yes.
Amaya,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Abstain.
Dorsal,
Of course, I'm next. Yes.
Ruby,
Of course.
Christina,
No.
Victor,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Valerie,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
Awesome. Sounds like the yeas have it.
Yes, you do have.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to getting those updates as
Yeah.
it goes on. Appreciate everything.
Yeah, of course. I know we're so close on time. I just want to thank you all. And I also just want to say that I really take, Christina, I really take the feedback to heart. And I actually do feel some genuine remorse that ultimately what you're saying is true, that there weren't more people who are doing experiencing homelessness involved in the construction of the tools, and just want to restate my commitment to doing better with that in the future. So I think you're absolutely right, and I'm looking forward to partnering with you more closely on that. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tom. We
Yeah.
appreciate that. You do a good job, including everybody. You do an awesome job at that. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
So
Thank you.
a motion would be in order to amend the agenda. It sounds like the Ombuds office can go next month if they're willing. And I'm sorry about the delay on that. I would have loved to get that report. Also Jeff's here to give the update on the COC NOFO stuff, but I think we would have to probably extend it or whatever you guys want to do. It's the board's decision. So there's a motion in order.
This is Christina. I move that we extend our meeting by how much time?
How much was originally allocated in this presentation? 30 minutes?
By 30 minutes.
Hopefully we'll
This
try
is
it.
a Maya Lenore. I would like to second the motion to extend the meeting by 30 minutes.
Okay, let's do a quick voice vote on that, unless there's discussion. Don't want to do anything out of order. No. Okay, no discussion. Let's go ahead and do a quick voice vote if that's okay. We can speed it up here. Make sure that we give everybody some time back today.
Aye.
All those. Thank you, Sandra. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Okay, any abstentions? Okay, sounds like the ayes have it. We're gonna go ahead and extend the meeting by 30 minutes. If you have to leave, I understand some people have other obligations to do so. Take her away. It says it's originally Kelsey, but today it's not Kelsey, it's Jack.
That's correct. Kelsey
Okay.
has another meeting that's related to COC that she is going to attend. So I'm going to do the presentation from the board here.
Yeah.
So I think that you all are familiar with the fact that we're going through a funding process that is one that occurs either annually or biannually. I want to make sure that I know you've talked about this extensively before. I'll do my best to fill in for Kelsey here. There's actually 3 of those opportunities going on currently, which is something that was not actually anticipated. The first one is, as you can see, it's labeled FY 2026 COC NOFO. That is a process that we anticipated going through. HUD had signaled that to us a while ago. We've spoken to you as a board at various times knowing that was coming. In addition, on June 10th, HUD released a youth homelessness funding and opportunity. This is, many of you on this board are aware that King County is a youth homelessness demonstration project community. It was actually one of the first communities selected to be a YHDP is the acronym. And this is typically the way that HUD provides funds to YHDP communities. This is the first time that I can recall at least where King County is eligible to apply for additional funds. Normally it's you kind of were selected with your initial proposal, which was encompassing how you'd end youth and young adult homelessness. In this case, they're allowing us to come in with more proposals. You can see details there on when it is due, things like that. And then also a third NOFO. This is one that focuses really on providing mostly capital funding. There's a little bit of operational dollars, but it is really intended to be federal funding to support the capital development of some kind of a project. This is at least the 3rd, it might be the 4th or 5th time that this funding opportunity has gone through. It was announced first under the Biden administration and retracted and reissued at least twice, I believe, by the Trump administration, and this would be the latest iteration of that. I'll get to where our status is on some of these in a little bit, but we will be asking the board to vote on various components, especially on those first 2, and likely the 3rd as well, over the next 2 months. So we want to make sure you have some background and are really fully up to speed on all the things going on. Separate to this, there was, as you all are aware, there has been a legal case. King County was one of the plaintiffs against Secretary Turner or HUD in a lawsuit related to the most recent funding cycle, which for technical terms is the FY 2025 NOFO. The good news is we actually prevailed. The court ruled in our favor. Before the verdict was issued, The plaintiffs, which include King County, but other jurisdictions as well, also filed and had sought to add this summer's funding competition to that lawsuit. It's a lot of the same terms and conditions and issues that are being challenged. The court did not allow this current one that we're going to undertake over the next couple months to be added. Instead, the court issued a finding in favor of King County and the National Alliance and other plaintiffs, but a separate lawsuit will need to be filed for the funding announcement that we're looking at now. There's one key piece there that I want to make sure is understood. There have been multiple lawsuits. We also have one that is the shorthand for is King County versus Turner. That protects King County, and I think it's more than 100 jurisdictions across the country, from certain conditions that HUD was seeking to impose. Things like having to comply with all executive orders, things about complying with immigration enforcement requirements, statements about gender diversity. The lawsuit that we have has a preliminary injunction. Basically, the court has before issuing a final ruling, has intervened and said, HUD, you cannot impose these conditions. That applies now and for what we're going to do over the summer. So we still have those protections in place, in addition to having won this court case. So this is an important map that really to keep awareness of the board of what steps we'll be taking over the next 2 months here. You can see early in June is when these various funding competitions were opened. KCRHA opened its local competitions very rapidly on June 10th and for the larger COC NOFO, and then shortly thereafter for the youth-focused one as well. So we have funding opportunities that close either on this Friday or the subsequent Friday for agencies in our area to propose a project for federal funding to end either homelessness overall or youth homelessness. Those applications are going to close, like I said, either this Friday or the week after that. We have a large number of raters that are involved that then will be scoring those applications. That gets aggregated up into a list. I know that many of you that have been on the board for a long time have gone through this process before, but we literally will present to the board for adoption a rank order list of all of our projects. I'm going to go into some more details about that in just a moment, but that's the key thing that will come to you as a board to endorse and approve for us to send to HUD as our formal application for our community. All of this has to happen pretty rapidly because HUD also requires that we issue notice to the people that won or lost, things like that in advance. There's dates on here that are reflecting that as well. I'm trying to go quickly because I know we're already over time. So I'm covering a few, not covering all details, but any questions, please let me know. So that list that you're having to put together, it's important to remember that we get $67 million, roughly, it's a little bit less than that, I guess, as our community from the federal government. This year, and what we are doing this summer, 60% of those funds are, HUD calls it tier 1. A good way to think about that, as many of you know, is to imagine that as the funding that we are pretty much guaranteed to have continue coming to our community. It would be barring extenuating circumstances that would be pretty extreme. Everything else, so 40% of our funds are not guaranteed that kind of a treatment. Instead, they fall into tier 2, where there are competitive processes that HUD is looking at and making decisions about what we have presented compared to all the other communities in the country and scoring them against each other. Because of some conditions imposed in that, it is exceptionally unlikely. It's not outright prohibited, which was a subject of a prior lawsuit, but exceptionally unlikely to the point that we don't think it's feasible that any project that we currently have that doesn't fall in that first 60% is going to be continued. So let that pause for a second. 60% of the things we have now will get continued. 40% will not.
No questions asked, you mean? Like it'll be like just automatically renewed like they do in the past?
Not quite that far. That's a great question. There's a lot of nuance to what HUD is trying to do, which is why there have been lawsuits around it. So there are questions and reviews that are above what has historically occurred
Mhm.
that will be happening this time as well.
Mhm.
And there is the chance that some of our current projects, even if we put them at that 60%, could be removed.
Right, and it's true that they're basing that off of news articles and things like that too, like when it comes to merit review, right?
Yes, that's correct. They
And
have
social
said,
media stuff and things like that.
Mhm.
So we need to be really cautious about what we're saying on our public meetings and everything like that.
yes, exactly.
Just wanted to make sure that was clear.
So, and that's all about the quality thresholds is what they call them.
Mhm.
Agencies that are applying, we have to be attesting that the proposed project, say like a PSH project, for example, doesn't violate any of those conditions that they're laying out. So we've actually, in what we have open as our current funding announcements, have taken that exact language. We're not trying to advance, we're only doing these things because we're required to, in terms of the new conditions. And using that same language, the agencies are checking attestation boxes just like HUD would require. So we're mirroring what is required of us by defense.
Okay.
In tier 2 then, let me check what my next slide was. Yeah. In tier 2 then, I'm not gonna go over all of the items up above. It kind of breaks something, like it breaks everything else out between like bonus, which is like the opportunity to go for even more than our $67 million, things like that. But really, the key thing to think about is everything else is somehow in that second tier. It's the opportunity to get new projects, or it's reallocating our fund away from something that exists because HUD is requiring that we do so essentially into some kind of a new project. That's called tier 2. That's primarily what our funding announcements that are open right now are soliciting interest in, seeking projects that meet the many requirements that HUD has put out. And so that we can put those forward as projects that we ideally would see funded, and if this application process all plays out. It's noted here that those are estimates, but I think that the contours are good enough. I mentioned there's 3 NOFOs. So if I went back a couple slides, you'll notice this is we'll call it big NOFO, the one that's $67 million. That's what I was talking about here. Then there is the youth homelessness NOFO that relates to us as a YHDP community. You can again see, I covered some of this already, that we've already put forward our local competition. The applications for that are due on July 10th. There are actually 2 different pathways that you can apply. One of them will be filled through that process of partners submitting a proposal for funding. We'll be able to apply for up to $7 million as a community. There's another pathway that can be done as an institutional entity collaborating with other institutional entities. So it could be KCRHA and Washington's Department of Children, Youth and Families and Pierce County. We could all collaborate to get money for infrastructure to better advance work to end youth homelessness as well. There's a couple pathways there. And then as you can see there, the board is going to be voting on August 5th on that list after our reviewers all get through their process. And then we have deadlines. That August 5th date is a hard deadline, just like earlier. The same August 5th date was for the big NOFO. August 5th is a hard date. And that is because we have to inform applicants. This is a requirement that our application is invalidated if we don't do it by a certain date, who has won or who has lost. And so by August 7th, we will be doing that to make sure that we've met all of HUD's requirements. I can go into more details there. I'll note that the youth homelessness one is due on August 10th. So it's due before the big NOFO, even though it was released after it.
Jeff, Christina, I have a question. We're talking about youth stuff, and in the past, we've had some input from the Youth Action Board, and I really think this is their bailiwick. What is going, I feel uncomfortable as an elder speaking about stuff, not hearing from them, if that makes sense. Are they going to come and be presenting to us in August about what they, where's their voice in this? Because we used to have a really strong Youth Action Board.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that, Christina. I would have omitted that, and it would have been a big mistake to do so. I'm pleased to share that we have several new Youth Action Board members. As of last week, we had at least half a dozen new members, many of whom are participating in agencies that are serving youth and young adults or have been connected in some way with associations like the Mockingbird Society that indicated interest in joining the YAB and adding to that group. They're planning to meet on July 21st to also do that. Many of them are also going to be participating as raters of the proposed projects as well. So there's going to be a lot of youth voice there that will be actually, and then forgive me if I'm wrong on this. This is a detail that Kelsey would know better than me. If it is a joint meeting or, but my belief is that the actual application has to also receive our COC board vote. I apologies for not knowing that particular detail, but I believe that's the case.
Board application absolutely needs the COC vote. I think, Christina, if I could maybe elaborate on what I think you were asking, because I'm curious as well. Are we voting on that priority list for the youth dollars too? Because, and maybe Amaya would actually know as her previous participation in this process, or does the Youth Action Board vote on that priority list for the youth funds? Is that something that's separate or is it together? Do we know?
Well, as I understand what we're planning is that the Youth Action Board will be voting.
They will. Okay, great.
And
Cool.
what's unclear to me, sorry if that was causing confusion,
Mhm.
I believe that to formally submit it,
Mhm.
we have to have the authorization of the COC board as well,
Okay.
not just the Youth Action Board.
Right.
We wouldn't, even if it wasn't required, I don't think our committee would ever advance it without the Youth Action Board also saying, yes, this is what we want to see advanced.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Christina, did that address your questions?
It did very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for raising it because that would have been a big mistake and I wasn't thinking that through. Amaya, did you want to add? I know that specifically Ruby pointed to you.
But if not, it's okay.
I think last time we did NOFA rating, the Youth Action Board did also have a chance to do that. Last time the NOFA was around, and I think I participated on that as well. And I do remember that, we were included in the process. Yeah.
Making sure. Thank you.
And certainly, and also in that big NOFO, there are some times we've won YHDP projects in the past that continues to require the Youth Action Board's approval and action as well.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Thank you.
Go ahead, Amaya.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this is also like goes hand in hand with it or not, but I believe as the Youth Action Board, we were also able to kind of help support some MOUs. I think there were some funds that needed to be redistributed, and so we were actually able to recommend where to redistribute those funds as well. So I don't know if that also addresses that as well.
Yeah, and there could be, based on the way that HUD has structured the big NOFO, there's some projects that are currently youth serving, they're YHDP projects that we already get from the last time we had a youth NOFO like this, that will go through what's called a replacement process. They will be they want to be operating in a different way or have a different allocation of funds, things like that. That will need the Youth Action Board's authorization in order to be approved. And that would speak very similar to what you brought up, Amaya.
So I think I can't remember exactly when we extended our meeting, but I think
You said 30
we
minutes
said
to
30
before
minutes,
30.
and I think it was at 3:55 or so. I was just making sure we're keeping track of time. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I already covered the total amount that we're talking about here. The third, recall there was 3 boxes, the big one, the youth one, now the capital or youth COC builds one. This actually, you all might recall, although the COC board and KCRHA as the lead applicant must submit the formal application, KCRHA is prohibited from actually doing capital work. That's part of our founding document. And so we have to collaborate with either the city of Seattle or King County around that. They currently have capital projects that they solicit and fund. And so this one is still outstanding a little bit as they determine if they have an appropriate project related to their other competition, things like that. It is very likely, but it's not determined at this point with certainty that you all would be brought a proposal here as well to make sure that our community continues to go after every fund possible. It's given all the conditions that HUD's imposing and timelines and things like that, and that this is the 4th or 5th reiteration of that. There's some challenges. We had some excellent projects like really phenomenal projects. But one of them has actually progressed to being open by this point in time. So that's some of the challenge we have there. I'll happily entertain any other questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions? I know I saw Jaja's hand go up earlier.
Yeah, thank you. This is Jaja. Jeff, you know when you showed it where it was tier 1? And then, yeah, that one. Go back.
This one.
There, that one. Yeah. So is everything that doesn't say tier 1, tier 2? I just need clarity.
That's it's easiest to think of it that way.
Okay. Okay, just like, yeah, it's not, but it is, right? Got
Far simpler to just think of it, because we will actually essentially lump all of those items together in what.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, just for my own brain power here, is the COC planning is separate than the tier 1, right? It's not part of tier 1.
Okay, yes, you're correct.
Okay,
Sorry for
okay.
that.
No, I just want to make sure that that's
yeah.
correct, and that's a separate funding source, right?
Right, it's
separate application and.
We receive, it's actually not even competitive to receive
Right.
funding. We are a Continuum. HUD has to fund and support that. We have to have things like this board. And so the COC planning funding funds is how that is supported. And that actually they just do outside of the competition.
Right, that's right. Okay, yeah, so that's what I was trying to get at, was trying to differentiate where exactly that operates, and that is outside of the annual renewal dollars, so that wouldn't be, or whatever the word is, annual renewal dollars. That's what it is, but I know it's not right. So for COC planning funds, that would pay for like things that the board, or like, you know, the administrative aspect of it, paying for the PIC count, the HIC, right? And also like, you know, if in case the board needed access to like law.
Yeah, actually, the way that as I recall, the word designated as the lead entity, KCRHA is. I was actually, after the executive session, because there's a legal question that the board has, was emailing KCRHA utilizes Pacifica as the law firm that provides us the input on what is permissible or not permissible, things like that.
Right.
Any other matters, like, you know, the subject of the executive session, for example, today. So I was working to get that email out to them quickly, because I know it was an urgent concern for the board. I didn't quite wrap that up. But
That's okay, no, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was known, that we do have access to being able to, you know, fund that ourselves potentially with our own money. So just throwing that out there. Okay, is there any other questions for Jeff about the NOFO updates? I know that Kelsey's been doing a really awesome job at keeping us up to date on all of those things, and really has kept her ears and eyes on the prize with that one. And I fully trust her to do the NOFO application. There's no other questions for Jeff. I'll just give a few updates for our next steps is happy Independence Day, guys. Proud to be an American. Yeah, Catherine, I was gonna get right to that. So we did forget to do the minutes earlier today before we went into executive session. If we still have quorum, I want to make sure that we still have quorum. If you're able to come onto the camera and signify that you are here, so we know that you're here, we could quickly entertain a motion to adopt the minutes from last month, which is June, and I encourage everyone to go watch that meeting. A motion would be in order to approve the meeting minutes.
This is Amaya. Oh, sorry. Can I
No, you're
motion
good.
to adopt the meeting minutes for June from our meeting?
And this is Jaja. I second that.
Okay, we can move into a quick voice vote. All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes in June, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, your minutes are passed. Thank you. Now back to what I was saying was the Independence Day is coming up this weekend. I hope everybody's gonna be very safe and very, you know, that everything's gonna be safe and fun for you all, and then you get to celebrate your independence however you choose to do so. Also wanted to update that we've got, like you mentioned, the COC application is also done this Friday. Tamara, I see your hand. I'll, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and just if we're talking about independence, also remember the roots of how this so-called country was founded. This is not the land of the American people. This is the land of the people who were born, raised, and rooted here. So when we're talking about our independence, let's also remember the revolution that got us here. And remember that to make change, we can't always just comply with what is. We have to challenge what is sometimes to get to something sweeter. I don't want us to accept the status quo. I want us to keep pushing for transformation. And so just because when I'm thinking of like even things like holidays like Thanksgiving and other national holidays, remember the history that's there because the colonial roots are still deeply entrenched in our systems and in our culture and our society. So don't forget that. Please remember that as you're going on to make policy, as you're going on to create change, as you're going on to like lead your organizations. Remember that, please.
100%.
That's it.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you for bringing that up. Always good. Oh, you're always good for bringing us back to earth, and I appreciate that. Yep, so we got our COC application wrapping up on the 3rd. So everybody get your applications in if you haven't done it. Amy, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Amy. Excuse me.
Haha, sorry. Has everybody in the chat been addressed?
I don't know, we're not supposed to use the chat. Let's go ahead and check it out.
I believe there was
Yeah.
at 4:15.
4:15. Yeah, I see that from a Jack, member of the public or oncoming board member, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah,
and so I believe that there wasn't clarification for individuals, and I would like to address to the chair, co-chair, that we address and help people understand what happened today and what is happening moving forward if we can do that.
That's what, absolutely. Thank you, Amy. As I was saying the next steps, I was getting to that. I
My
appreciate
apologies for shooting the
No,
gun
you're
here,
okay.
friend. Thank you.
Fine. Yep, it's okay. My understanding of the situation again is that we can't have any other discussion other than what we had today already, and we put out there in the world and said that we would get it figured out in our motion by the next board meeting. I don't think I will be able to participate in those conversations, so that's really up to the board at that point. So waiting to hear back from legal. I don't have any other clarifying information on that.
Jack, KCRHA can be following up with all of the, I don't know the right term to use, pending
Yeah, we don't know.
individuals that would be joining the board, also those that are current whose terms were lapsing, to provide that further follow-up.
And just to be clear, they shouldn't, like, this is a situation that we did not create. Just to be clear, there is a thing in the charter that says that the board members should be onboarded by the next meeting, 100%. I know it says that in there. But we were told that board members' terms that are present don't end until the 1st of July, which is today. So to have both parties here was incorrect. And that's why we need a lawyer to be doing this stuff. Thank you, guys. Is there a motion to it? Oh, John, I see your hand. Yeah, I see your hand.
Yeah, I am one of the board members who is leaving, and I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to serve you and to be with you. I really appreciate all you've done and all you will continue to do. You have folks coming in who will do a fabulous job, I'm sure. And I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to serve alongside of you. And yeah. And how, I just appreciate it. Thank you. And if nobody else has anything else to say, I motion to adjourn.
Well, I guess I might have jumped ship too quickly. I didn't say the SPC meetings or anything like that, but thank you, Jaja, for sharing that. I appreciate it. I employ similar sentiments with that, and I think that We've got the SPC meeting coming up on July 15th, if I'm correct, which is the third Wednesday of every month, and I'll see you guys there. And then we have the next COC board. We have our convening on the 14th as well, but and where is that at? Again, in Muckleshoot, out in the community center, really far out on the bus line there. So hopefully our people from Seattle can see it, or we can get maybe a board member carpool going, but I'm not sure how that board will decide to move forward on that. So
I do have a message from Patricia that she asked me if I
Go
could
ahead.
read since she's leaving. To my COC board members, it wasn't an easy decision to decline to reapply. However, the best choice was made due to my current circumstances. I am grateful and appreciative for the opportunity to serve with you all. I miss you much. The work we do is complex and challenging, yet so rewarding. I pray we continue to persevere with compassion, integrity, and faithfulness toward each other and those we serve, and advocate for each day. I'll continue to show up and hope to see you in the future in meetings and in community. I wish you all the best personally and professionally. Blessings and love, Dr. Patricia Sam.
anybody else like to share? I'll just say, it's not always like it looks like it is on the outside. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Oh, well,
Shaw,
Motion to adjourn again. Is there a second?
Second. Be a second. Just go ahead and end it.